Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Gaura Pinandi Ram Shivada Paramahamsa Privraj Gachata Stotra Satta Sri Simad His Divine Grace Sri Bhai Charan Arvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Iskandi BT Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jani Thai Gaur Pimanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Taptakan Sanagaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustuti Devim Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyayevasya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Ram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayana Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nastaprayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishikhi. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samitam Uttamasloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Maha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukam karoti vasaram pangom langayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class today. We are reading the last verse of the first chapter of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That first chapter being entitled "The First Step in God Realization," and therefore today it is text number 13.9. Correct? Yes. Sarva dhi vritti anubhuta sarva atma yatha sapna janekshitaikah tam satyam ananda nidhim bhajita nanyatra sajad yata atma patah sarvadhi vrityanubhutta sarva atma yata swapna janakshita ekah tam satyam ananda nidhim bhajeta nanyatra sajad yata atma patah sasarvadhi vrityanubhutta sarva atma yata swapna janakshita ekah tam satyam ananda nidhim bhajeta nanyatra sajadyata atmapattah sasarvadhi vrityanubhutta sarva atma yatha swapna janakshita ekah tam satyam ananda nidhim bhajeta nanyatra sajadyata atmapatah sasarvadhi vrityanubhutta sarvam atma yatha swapna janakshita ekah tam satyamananda vinidhim bhajeta nanyatra sajadyata atmapatah. In the olden times, one did not have to read, even if one had difficulty with eyes, just by hearing. So you have to perfect the hearing. Come back to the Vedic system. Saha, he, the Supreme Person, Sarvadhivriti, the process of realization by all sorts of intelligence, Anubhuta, cognizant, Sarve, everyone, Atma, the super soul, Yatha, as much as, Swapna Jana, a person dreaming, Ikshita, seen by, Ekaha, one and the same, Tam, unto him, Satyam, the supreme truth, Anandanidhim, the ocean of bliss. Anandanidhim. Bhajeta, one must worship. Na, never. Anyatra, anything else. Sajet, be attached. Yataha, whereby. Atma pataha, degradation of oneself. The translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. One should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as ordinary persons create thousands of manifestations in dreams. One must concentrate the mind on Him, the only all blissful absolute truth. Otherwise, one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. Kindly repeat after me. One should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as ordinary persons create thousands of manifestations in dreams. One must concentrate the mind on Him, the only all blissful absolute truth. Otherwise, one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. Purport. In this verse, the process of devotional service is indicated by the great Goswami, Srila Shukadeva. He tries to impress upon us that instead of diverting our attention to several branches of self-realization, we should concentrate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the supreme object of realization, worship, and devotion. The self-realization is, as it were, offering a fight for eternal life against the material struggle for existence. And therefore, by the illusory grace of the external energy, the yogi or the devotee is faced with many allurements which can entangle a great fighter again in the bondage of material existence. Quite heavy statement. A yogi can attain miraculous successes in material achievements such as anima and laghima, by which one can become more minute than the minutest, or lighter than the lightest, or in the ordinary sense one may achieve material benedictions in the shape of wealth and women. But one is warned against such allurements because entanglement again in such illusory pleasure means degradation of the self and further imprisonment in the material world. By this warning, one should follow one's vigilant intelligence only. Prabhupada continues, the Supreme Lord is one, and his expansion, see or do, the super soul of all acts of seeing or doing is the Lord. This theory of simultaneous oneness and difference between the individual soul and the super soul, the philosophy of Veda, Tattva, yes, the Virat Rupa, and therefore the or gigantic feature of the Lord is the super. Essentially, see that Lord Krishna is that one should unhesitatingly become a worshipper of Lord Krishna, or for that matter, his plenary expansion in the Vedic hymn, cast a glance over matter, and thus there was creation. Before creation, there was neither Brahma nor Shiva. And what to speak of others, that others are within the material, Bahiranga Maya, and is aloof from the internal potency, Atma Maya. The whole material creation is different from him at the same time. The example given in this verse very nicely is that of the dreaming man. The dreaming man creates many things in his dream, and thus he himself becomes the entangled seer of the dream and is also affected by the consequences. The material creation is also exactly a dream-like creation of the Lord, but he, being the transcendental super soul, is neither entangled nor affected by the reactions of such a dream-like creation. He is always in the transcendental position, but especially he is everything and nothing is apart from him. As a part of him, one should therefore concentrate on him only, without deviation Otherwise, one is sure to be overcome by the potencies of the material creation, one after another. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9:7 as follows. Sarva bhutani kunteya prakritim yanti mamikam kalpakshaye punasatani kalpadau virishya jamyaham. Translation: O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, every material manifestation enters into my nature, and in the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I again create. The human life, however, is an opportunity to get out of this repetition of creation and annihilation. It is a means whereby one may escape the Lord's external potency and enter into His internal potency. Thus then, the Bhaktivedanta purports of a second canto, first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The First Step in God Realization. Yeah, a little bit long purport. Just reading the text again here. One should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as an ordinary person creates thousands of manifestations in dreams. One must concentrate the mind on Him, the only all blissful absolute truth. Otherwise, one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. So the philosophy of Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva, which is especially introduced by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is in many ways amalgamating or bringing together the various understandings or philosophies within our Vaishnava Sampradayas. There are 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas who are all bona fide in that they accept Narayan as the Supreme Lord, and there are minor differences in the understanding, but ultimately they are all accepting what is being pointed out here, that we must cultivate this transcendental knowledge and not become entangled in material pursuits, knowing and understanding that actually the subject matter of transcendence is such a vast subject matter. So we should minimize Vedic culture is emphasizing the need to minimize our engagement. Engagement means our attachment we can be engaged. We have to be engaged by nature. It is our it is natural for us to be engaged, and this is the last text of this chapter, which has been dealing with the Virat Rupa of the Lord in the material world. So we need to learn the art of utilizing this material energy in the service of Krishna, and not becoming entangled or not separating this energy of the Lord, not utilizing this energy of the Lord separately from Krishna. That is a science that needs to be learned, and in this way a devotee can utilize everything in Krishna service, that is explained by our Goswamis as Yukta Vairagya. We are not against material things as long as they are connected and utilized for the service of Krishna. That is the vision and understanding of a devotee. So Prabhupada begins the purport by explaining how Srila Shukadeva Goswami is directing us mainly and primarily to the process of bhakti or devotional service, and that we should ultimately only connect or meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Means we need to come to this whole Bhagavatam, Vedic literatures is leading us to that understanding of what is called the Param Tattva. Krishna is the Param Tattva. It is one of the 10 tattvas we were discussing a few days back, that everything, the ultimate reality is Krishna, and everything that we are doing, performing, should be in connection with Krishna. And when we learn that science or that art, then nothing actually is material. This is also nicely explained by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the context of Varnashrama Dharma, for example. Varnashrama Dharma is a material arrangement, material system, isn't it? Created by Krishna. Everything is created by Krishna. And sometimes devotees don't want to be connected or don't want to be involved, thinking that it is material. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains very nicely that when that material system is utilized for understanding Krishna, for serving Krishna, then all of the recommended activities within the system of Varna and Asrama, they become they become spiritualized. And he makes a nice statement that in that consciousness, therefore, all such activities become devotional service, isn't it? One does not incur karmic reaction. So this is the mentality that we need to have, that we need to develop. So this is the concluding instruction that is presented here by Shukadeva Goswami. One should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as ordinary persons create thousands of manifestations in dreams. So it means that our whole entire existence, our whole entire life is meant to be dovetailed in this one primary objective or aim. And the last portion here of the verse is, one must concentrate the mind on Him, the only all blissful absolute truth. Otherwise, one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. In other words, this means this is a call for full surrender. It means until and unless we come to the point of fully surrendering and fully engaging ourselves, then we will remain entangled. Prabhupada gives the example, just like some people, they go to Vrindavan when they are a little older. They go to Vrindavan and because they know that, in the stage of Vanaprastha, one should abandon family life and should retire in a holy place. So they go to Vrindavan and they tell their son that you just send me, a few hundred rupees a month for my maintenance, and then I will be happily staying in Vrindavan. Meantime, they leave all their money for the relatives and the family. They don't surrender it to Krishna. So this is like partial surrender. They know they should be in Vrindavan, but they don't understand that actually everything that I have is just like our Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. They that's nicely explained. They had accumulated a lot of wealth when they met with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when they became convinced that actually I have to completely surrender my life. Then they distributed their wealth. And that's also mentioned, of course, in the Bhagavatam, that one should utilize whatever excess one may have in the preaching mission of the Lord. So we should not unnecessarily accumulate, but we should, especially those who are householders, who have some some wealth, it is meant to be utilized in the service of Krishna. Yeah. So the next chapter will be the Lord in the heart. So we'll begin that tomorrow. Yeah. So any comment on this? Yes.
Regarding you're telling full surrender.
Regarding full surrender. Yeah.
Because by neophyte devotee he cannot fully surrender because as a
Neophyte devotee cannot fully surrender.
so a question comes one brahmachari who gives his life for movement. He stays in temple. Nowadays what happening as till he has that youth and all.
Yes.
He's doing very nice services, dedicating. Then when he's getting old,
Yes.
for the management it is very difficult to maintain the brahmacharya and as a health issues and all. So one question comes that whether the brahmachari have some, so many times the question can be attempted that whether brahmachari have some rupees on and some amount he should have on account on him or the management should fully.
So the question is, if somebody who is a brahmachari and serving, when he is younger, everyone is very much appreciating his service because he's healthy and he's, an asset to the temple. But then when he gets older, cannot do so much service, and then he also becomes diseased. So your question is whether
Management not able to decide whether maintain him or have a separate account for him. And the thing is
keep it to one question. The question is, should that brahmachari be thinking of having his own account, not knowing whether the temple can support him? Right? Yeah. Well, brahmacharis are meant to, of course, dedicate their lives to the mission, and it is the responsibility of the mission or the temples, for example, to properly care for those who are giving their life for the service of the mission. It is not a good thing. It is not the standard that in case somehow that doesn't happen, I should have my own account. Yeah. Those who are brahmacharis, those who are in vanaprastha, and those who are sannyasis, they are primarily meant to, just like they are described as like children in the sense that they are dependent, like children are dependent on the parents. So we don't expect a young boy to ask, can I open my account? Can I have my own account? In case you're not able to provide for me. So it is, we have within our ISKCON society in the last, quite a few years now, developed more, they have become more aware of what we call devotee care. So devotee care is those who are completely surrendered to the mission, in particular as brahmacharis, then it is the responsibility of the of the society, those who have been serving the mission, to care for them. Yeah, and their.
Because what happens in big temples, where the management is very big management to handle so many brahmacharis. So one brahmachari has some health issues, and the health issues may be some higher amount of he has to pay higher amounts. Then they have to think about other brahmachari when he has health issues. So how many people they can.
The basic principle, if somebody gives their life to the mission, then it's a responsibility of the mission to look after them within their capacity and reason. Yeah.
There is a big discussion in temple.
So anything else?
And what about if it's come to the normal person?
Uh-huh.
Like, when it's come to the normal person, like one.
You mean brahmacharis are not normal persons?
Okay. I'm just question I'm transferring to a normal. Like if a husband and wife are thinking to transfer to the Vrindavan and live life
Yes.
like I in the Vrindavan. So what they should do? Like they keep some balance or they.
If a husband and wife, if someone after family life retires, takes the vanaprastha and goes to a place like Vrindavan, should they have their bank account?
Yes.
Is that your question? Well, it's natural that one who is a householder will have accumulated some wealth, and it will depend on the situation. If one goes to a holy place and is still living somewhat separately, and I mean, every situation will be different. If one is let's say completely surrendering to some temple and becoming fully engaged, then he should utilize his wealth for the mission. At the same time, so it will depend if one is if in that particular place where he is going, that there is no such possibility of completely living, let's say, within a temple, then one will have to meet his basic expenses and render whatever service that is possible. So it will depend on the different factors that are there. Main thing is that whatever we do have, whatever we may have accumulated, should be primarily utilized in the service of Krishna. So money per se or wealth per se is not bad. It depends how we utilize it, isn't it? Prabhupada would explain how there are some sannyasis in India who their philosophy is they cannot even touch money. If they touch money, they become contaminated. Prabhupada was telling. Whereas our philosophy is that with two hands we will tell people, please donate. We know how to utilize it in Krishna's service. So it's a consciousness that is important. even within our ISKCON society, sannyasis are offered dakshin, and they have to manage that for their preaching. So there's different ways of doing that, but the idea is that wealth needs to be properly utilized in Krishna service and in spreading the mission. The details of how that is done will vary from one situation to another. Yeah. Okay. Jai Grantaraj Mein Bhagavatam ki, Jai Sri Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanandi.